Well, welcome, my friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you, as always, by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camel's Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. Well, my friends, I tell you, getting from one show to the next now is a real chore. As I said, everything is collapsing at the same time, and everything includes my mind, which is kind of melting away. It's really hard for me. I mean, uh, uh, I seem to have recovered physically. Karen and I went for a 40-mile bike ride the other day, and 4-mile walk, and we just came off of doing some weight training. So physically, I'm able to do these things, but I'm tired a lot, and it's really hard to read, and it's really hard to focus, and it's really hard to think. So, your body and your mind are not exactly the same. You could be able to lift weights and still not be able to think. But I'm going to give it a try. It's been an incredible 2 weeks. I mean, we had demonstrations after demonstrations. We had the No Kings demonstration, but then we had over here in McCusker. We had not in McCusker County, but here in Michigan, the ICE is the private prison company. If you want to buy something that's got the stock is going up, they're building the largest ICE prison in the United States right here in Michigan, and they had a demonstration, and then the other day, we had a local demonstration. The only one that I actually went to, it was Green Township. I'm in McCusker County, and Green Township is part of my county. And the people in Green Township are absolutely insane. And their concern, their main concern is keeping the Chinese communists at bay. There's a Chinese battery company that wants to build a factory and bring thousands of jobs and gazillions of dollars to this area. But God help us, it's communist money, and we don't want to have any part of it, because before you know it, we're going to be speaking Chinese and end up in I don't know what. So they took over the township, and they don't know how to run government. So the township is complete. The library is closed, for example. This kind of stuff. And they ran up $200,000 in legal fees, and they took that money from a $600,000 pool of money that came from the marijuana tax. So they voted against having marijuana stores in Green Township. In Big Rapids, we have about 10 or more stores, and those stores pay $50,000 for their licensing fee, and it generates a huge amount of money. And so it annoyed so many of us. A couple of hundred people came to demonstrate, and they took the vote and they transferred the money. And the demonstration, as we're demonstrating against the prison, but the prison gets built, and the demonstrators are outside, protesting. So the protests go on, but we continue to move in the direction of collapse, which is the only direction that we can possibly go in. So I did want to say how, what my focus is. I try to keep things global. I try to see this in terms of, we got into this before we knew what we were doing. We did not realize the consequences of our fossil fuel civilization. And by the 1990s, when it began to become clear that we were in trouble, the idea was that you could keep it to 3.5, or 350 parts per million, or 1.5 degrees above. Forget it. Uh, it was over already. We had already changed the cryosphere, the atmosphere. That we had already uh, uh, doomed ourselves. So our planet was already on a trajectory that the human species could not reverse. That's all. And so you have discussions now about geoengineering and how we will do something else or whatever else. There are other impediments. It isn't like you can uh, just think for yourself what might be a solution. If you can't generated, if you can't get cooperation, which is what we can't get, as I said the last time, in the 1990s, we got the nations of the world to agree not to use the fluorocarbons. That's no longer possible. There's no enmity among nations. Now there's discord everywhere. And I had said that what was going to happen is violence would increase everywhere. The pollution will increase everywhere. The cryosphere, the ice is melting everywhere. The permafrost is melting everywhere. These are changes that are irreversible. This is the direction we're going, and it's irreversible. So I was thinking about this idea that in Israel, they were founded as a social democratic state. They were a socialist state, really, and they moved to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. And I realized when I was looking at this that it looks like I'm going to the left, to the left, to the left, but I mean to go to the right, to the right, to the right. Anyway, I realize now that first of all, this is a global phenomenon, and I think that it can easily be understood as the human species experiencing extraordinary catastrophic changes that, I mean, you can pretend to ignore, but you can't really ignore the pandemic. You can't really ignore the gun violence. You can't really ignore the drug overdoses. You can't really ignore the floods and the fires and the incredible and the wars, the shocks that the human species everywhere on the planet, people are just realizing that the tremendous insecurity. And when human beings become insecure, just like my friend Ishmael Khaldi's goats, you panic, you don't know what to do, you look to the alpha male and you run after the alpha male. Sorry, it's so. I said that we made a big mistake not going the direction of matriarchy. If we had women leaders, we might be in better shape. But it's idiotic. This is where we are. This is where we are, and this is who we are. And so I've got to the point where my feeling is there's no one to blame. We got into this before we knew what we were doing. And the human species is not particularly rational. We can be rational when things are calm. When things are calm, Ishmael Khaldi's goats, they display normal behaviors. When his bombs are going off overhead, they're crazy and they run and they follow the alpha male and he's running around. He doesn't know where he's going. So it's craziness. You stop functioning. And that's what happens to the human species as well. We are now in a state of trauma. So we've got heat domes in Europe, and it's worthwhile understanding that Europe is heating up twice as fast as the United States, for example, as most of the rest of the world. Some places are heating faster than others, and but uh, uh, 115 degrees the other day in Spain, but it's more than that. In Arizona as well. The temperatures go hit above 100, and they do not go down, and that people start dropping like flies. The last time this happened in Europe, I think they estimated it was 60,000 people died as a result of the heat dome. And these things are all becoming more frequent, longer duration. I saw a little report on those cactus. In the Southwest, you have in Arizona, you have these. People go out to see them. They're a tourist attraction. They're hundreds of years old, 150, 200 years old. They're 6, 8, 10 feet tall. These giant cactus that have evolved to live in this incredibly hot desert, and you see them, they're falling over, they're dropping dead because they have a limit to what they can tolerate. And that's the whole point. We're getting to the limits of our ability, not as humans, but our ability as a cactus, our ability as a fruit bat, our ability as birds. And the pandemic uh, is the longest and most severe avian pandemic in the history of the planet, and there's no way to stop it. We're not even, there's nothing to do about it except ignore the fact that the bird population, the avian population of this planet, is being decimated by a deadly virus that is already coming for our cows and is gunning for us next. And speaking of gunning, by the way, um, I just want to make it clear that the that's exactly what is happening here uh, with immigrants, but also for Democrats and for liberals. The opposition. It's not a matter of we believe in elections and you have a right to your opinion. You don't. And you're going to see these prisons that are being built. They're being built for you as well. It's not just illegal immigrants who are going to be swept up and incarcerated. This is going to become a huge incarceration state. Um, the use of force to impose an ideological position rather than deal with a reality. Uh, it doesn't work very well, but it can work temporarily, especially with people who are easily led and are frightened. And so there we have it. Let me see. I made some notes. It seemed maybe something that I wanted to shade of. Oh yeah, all right. Never mind that. Okay, so yeah, I was going to make another comment about the mayoral election in New York. Zoran Mamdani, um, the Social Democratic candidate who's going to probably be the mayor. He won the primary, um, and and he he's really has been talking a lot about genocide in Gaza and about globalizing the Intifada. And he has been a part of the BDS movement for many years. And what I'm not an apologist for Israel. I call it genocide. I'm not apologizing for anybody, and I'm not opposed to BDS, but uh, I see anti-Semitism. You don't have to be an anti-Semite to call it genocide, but you certainly can be when that's the only thing that you're running for mayor of New York, and you have nothing to say about Sudan, and you have nothing to say about Ukraine, and you have nothing to say about Myanmar, but the Intifada and Gaza, and genocide, and it's all focused on Gaza. Excuse me, but you know that's that's a distortion of focus, which I take to be the impact of anti-Semitism, and also what is happening is that there's a global rise in anti-Semitism. So the Jews are caught in the traditional place between a rock and a hard place. I mean, we don't have allies here, and when we think we have allies, I mean, if you with friends like this, you don't need enemies. So that's all I have to say about that. Uh, so I caught my a few minutes to of clarity and ability to to do a presentation. I had a very hard time over the last 2 weeks finding a moment where I felt good enough to actually carry on and just spew forth for 15 minutes. So feeling good, I hope that we'll be back in 2 weeks with another show. Uh, you stay safe and uh, try not to let all of this get you down. Uh, this is where we are. Nobody's to blame. It's it, it's global. There's little time left. You might as well if you can do something to relieve anyone's suffering, by all means, do everything you can. But just to be depressed because we're at the end of our road, you know, hey, that's a waste. Carpe diem. This is the last of the great days that we have to enjoy this planet. I just was out on a 40-mile run through green, and I mean, we're running out of green. So I'm feeling good, and I hope you are too. This is the fun show. Anyway, till next time. Uh, Take the Camels Challenge, smoke camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference camels can make in your life. And I'll see you again, I think, in 2 weeks. Bye bye.